A few weeks ago, we saw how to install RetroArch on your Xbox One or Series to play retro games. Although most people had no problems, for the less experienced there were many questions, especially how to make the PlayStation 2 work, what a BIOS is and how it works, and how you can load your games if you don't have a USB or a Windows computer.
Here we will see everything you have to know and how to get more performance with the new emulator called XBSX2. This is PlayStation 2 on the Xbox, Expert Mode. Welcome back, I'm Claudio and this is Zero to Tech. Previously, we saw how to install RetroArch on your Xbox, but now we're going to focus only on the PlayStation 2, because there is a new emulator, XBSX2. Being developed specifically for the Xbox, it improves performance by a lot. It doesn't matter if you have an Xbox One or Series. Let's see how to use it.
The first thing to do is to install the Gamer13 store. He's the developer we must thank for this easy process. To do so, open Edge on your Xbox, navigate to this address, and once there, click Download App, and select Open. This brings up this screen where we simply select Install. Once finished, you will see this app installed on your Xbox. Once you open it, you can install any of the available emulators. In this case, we're going to install XBSX2. Select the correct version depending on whether you are on an Xbox Series or an Xbox One. Select it and click Install. This is a new emulator based on PCSX2 and borrows also from Aether SX2, all focused on improving performance on the Xbox. After the installation, remember to open it for the first time so it finishes creating the necessary directories.
Once installed, the next thing is to put the game files. These are called ROMs, which are backups, in this case, of the game disk. You must have these files. I cannot tell you where to get them from. If only there was a way to search the internet.
Most PlayStation 2 games came in DVDs. These almost always come in .iso format, but the ones that came on CDs must be in .chd or a combination of .q and .bin files. Besides the game, you also need the BIOS files. These replace the functions that the consoles used to do. The same, I cannot tell you where to get them from. For the PlayStation 2, it usually comes in 3 files with the hardware version. Once you have these files, there are 2 ways to put them. On an USB you plug into your Xbox. This process requires a Windows 10 or 11 computer. Or you can upload them directly to the Xbox via FTP. This is the option if you have a Mac, Linux, or you only have a mobile device. The easiest way is to use a USB and put it on your Xbox. This process is not complicated. The USB must be in NTFS format. To do this, connect it, right-click on it, and select Format. Just make sure NTFS is selected. Finish with the Format button. In my case, I already have a folder called ROMs, with a subfolder for each console. Here, I have the PlayStation 2 subdirectory. On the USB, create 2 folders, one called ROMs, and in it, another one called BIOS. Simply copy the games folder to ROMs, and the BIOS files into the other folder. Now you must give the folders a special permission. This is the step that requires Windows 10 or 11. If this is not your case, you can skip to the next chapter. So right-click on the ROMs directory on the USB. Select Properties, then the Security tab. Here, click the Advanced button. And on the next screen, click Add. Then, at the top, select Principal Link, then on Advanced. On this screen, we click on Search, and in the list, we select All Application Packages permission. We close with OK until we return to this screen, where we must select this checkbox, then we select Apply. And now we can close the window, disconnect the USB, and connect it to the Xbox.
Now, if you don't have a USB, or you don't have Windows 10, or you don't have a computer, you need a device to connect via FTP. Let's see how to do it with Android, Windows 7 and the Mac.
The only issue to know is that this way, the Xbox limits you to 30 GB shared between all the emulators. And since PS2 DVDs average 4 GB per disc, you run out of space fast. First, you need to install Durango FTP, which is available in the same app as the emulators. Just a little further down. We select it and click Install. Once the installation is finished, you can open it and see it tells you how much of the 30 GB are available. You will need the IP. which is this series of 4 numbers separated by dots. Once you write it down, simply press the start button. This starts the FTP server, and now you can connect from outside. Important, do not exit or close the application. Let's first see how to do it with Android. We're going to need an FTP client. There are quite a few, but most are very ugly and full of advertising. So, you better install this program called Admin Hands. Then open it, and after all the tutorials overlays, it leaves you at this screen. Select the plus button, and then New Host. This takes you to the creation screen. In name, you can put whatever you want. I used Xbox. And in host address, we're going to put the IP. Then select the combo below, which says Select Protocol, and choose FTP. This will show additional fields. Go down to the one that says Login and write Anonymous. Check the spelling, it has to be lowercase, without spaces or anything. We save with the diskette button. Now we select the Xbox connection and then FTP client. It should show these 3 directories. And on your Xbox, you will see activity in the log section. Simply select the apps folder, now PCSX2, then the folder within it, and then local state. When you open it, you will see many folders. There is one called Games, that is where you're going to put your ROMs. Select it, now we press the button with the 3 dots, and select Upload Files. The generic file browser appears on the next screen. Navigate to the folder where you have the games. In my case, inside Downloads, I have a ROMs folder, and inside it, one called PS2. To upload multiple files, press and hold on one until it's selected. Then select the others. Finish with the Select button. The games will start uploading immediately. Depending on your phone and your network, this may take a long time. When finished, a blank screen will appear. This is an issue with the app. If you want to check that the files are already there, close the window with the cross. Click Yes, and navigate back to the folder. The files should be there. Now, the next step is to load the BIOS. It is the same process, but instead of the games folder, upload the files to the BIOS folder. So open it, select the 3 dots, then Upload Files. Navigate to the folder where you have them, select the files, and finish with the Select button. Now, doing it with a Mac, Linux, or another version of Windows are the same steps. The best app to do is FileZilla, which is available in all 3 systems. We enter the FileZilla page, select Download FileZilla Client, and again Download FileZilla Client. When the download finishes, do the installation. Just hit Next and be careful on this screen because they're trying to install you additional software. Just uncheck this. Now open FileZilla. In Host, put the IP from your Xbox and click the Quick Connect button. FileZilla takes care of putting the anonymous user if you leave it blank. And once connected, navigate to the Apps folder, PCSX2, Internal folder, Local state, and you can upload your games to the Games directory simply by dragging them from the left to the right. The same with the files in the BIOS folder. Now we are ready to open XBSX2. If you uploaded the games by FTP, there is nothing else to do, but if you are using a USB, we need to change the folder where it will look for the games and the BIOS files. First, connect the USB to your Xbox. If it shows this window, select Use as Media. Back in XBSX2, select Settings, and navigate to the second screen with RB. Now we select Add Search Directory. Now click on the parent directory until you can see the D drive. Select the ROMs folder, and then select PS2. Finish with Use this directory. We must do the same with the BIOS directory. In the configuration, press R until you reach the screen with the folder icon. Select the first one that says BIOS, then again parent directory until you can see the D drive. Select it, then the folder called BIOS, and finish with Use this directory. Now, to make sure everything is ready, return to the main screen by pressing B, and select Start BIOS. The boot animation starts immediately. This means the BIOS was detected. To close it, press Select and Start at the same time. This takes you to the quick menu. Here you can exit with Close Game, and when you enter the game list, it should show the games. Select one and it should boot. In this case, we start the test with Gran Turismo 4. As you can see, the game works fine. We can do the whole process of creating a user without issues. We did a quick run where we can see how the game runs perfectly.
Good. Now enjoy the extensive library of the most successful console in history. Next, we will check additional settings and tips to get the most out of it. Things that we can only do thanks to emulation.
Something you will use a lot in this emulator is the quick menu. You can access it during gameplay by pressing select and start. Or view and menu if you get picky with the names. And it shows us several options. What you're going to use the most is to close the game, restart it, and one of the best emulation features, save states. This allows you to save an exact moment in the game, like before a boss fight, and it allows you to reload the same moment without having to replay the entire level. For example, in Shadow of the Colossus, we get to the first one. We open the menu and select Save State, and then select a slot. If you die, we select Load State and select the same slot, and we're back where we were before we screwed up. When you close the game, the emulator actually offers you to save one, so you can return to the same exact moment the next session. Even then, in this generation it was common for all the games to offer save functions, but save states take it a step further. But you can still use the normal save functions. The emulator creates a memory card automatically and then loads them when you open the game, in case you want to have the classic experience. Another important feature is to upscale the graphics. PlayStation 2 games used to run at 480i or 480p resolution, but with more power, we can raise the resolution much more. For this, go to Settings, then to the screen with the magic wand. Here in Internal Resolution, we can change it to some multiplier. God of War 2, one of the heaviest games, ran perfectly at 3x and 4x. But we tried raising it up to 6x, which will be the resolution for 4K, and you can see that it doesn't run well anymore. The audio slows down and the frame counter drops to just over 30 frames. It even changes to red. So back up a bit. Also, Ratchet & Clank runs perfect. It's a heavy game and sometimes slows down more than God of War. The Xbox Series S should run the entire library at 3x and 4x with no issues. Also, remember that this is the rendering resolution. It is not worth upscaling above the console or the TV resolution. In this case, the Series S have a maximum resolution of 1440p, but with the Series X it's possible to go up to 4K. By the way, if you want to remove the frame counter, on the first settings screen, disable Show FPS. Also, if you feel that the game has a lot of latency, that is, you press a button and it takes a long time for the action to happen, which is usually more noticeable in fighting at 2D games, go to the settings screen with the display icon and disable the second option called VSync. Just to mention it, don't expect 2D games to scale as well as 3D ones.
And that's all you need to know to enjoy your games. Of course, you can see thousands of additional options in the settings screen, which you can play with, but the essential steps are those we saw.
XBSX2 is the best option to emulate PlayStation 2 on your Xbox, but it is not the only one. You can also play with the version of PCSX2 within RetroArch, but has much worse performance and had problems running God of War, as we saw in the last video. But if you want to use it in RetroArch and don't know where to put the BIOS files, the ones for the PlayStation 1, Sega CD or Sega Saturn, if you're using FTP, copy them to the system folder. Or if you're using USB, put them inside the BIOS folder we created before. And don't forget to reapply the permissions. But for the PS2, it is not enough to put them in the root of those directories. Inside that folder, you must add another one called PCSX2. And inside it, another one called BIOS. The same if you do it by FTP. Put the BIOS files in there and it should work.
Although, you may not prefer it for PlayStation 2, but RetroArch is the solution to emulate older consoles, such as Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis, Saturn, N64, GameCube and even Wii. So if you haven't seen the video, just click here.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, retro games, modern technology, zero to tech.